Hey everybody, it's Jane. I hope you're doing fabulous. We're all in the middle of quarantine and I wanted to make some cards for our doctors and nurses that are on the front lines taking care of all of our COVID patients. I ordered some stamps from one of the stamping companies, but they are on lockdown as well, and so they did not come, and I was trying to figure out how I could mass produce some quick and easy cards. So I went to my stash and I cut about 8 or 10 pieces of cardstock into different strips. I didn't really matter what size. I went and found my stamps and dies and layered 3 layers of white die cuts together. And I made about 30 cards. They're really easy to do. Some of them are the same. Most of them are a little bit different. And I plan on mailing these to some local hospitals as well as to some hospitals where my family and friends all work. I put something fun on all of the envelopes, which is coming up in just a second. And let me show you what I got going on here. So these envelopes, I stamped about 8 of the envelopes or 10 with this particular saying. This sentiment is on these envelopes and this sentiment is on a few envelopes as well. And I put "you got this, no you really do" inside of every single card. And as usual, I will link all the products in my blog post. To make cutting faster, I use my Tombow temporary adhesive to adhere 2 pieces of cardstock together. I think I cut 8 or 10 pieces of cardstock. I just picked my favorites. I got my Tombow guillotine out because it cuts through 2 layers of cardstock. Amazing. And again, I did not plan out any sizes. I made sure it was all straight across the bottom. I held on to my plastic shield there and I just cut. And my camera is on my table, which is why the frame is bouncing. And it's important to hold that shield. You'll see I'm going to mess up one in just a second right there, because I did not hold the bottom part where my thumb is. It's important to hold that there. That keeps it nice and sturdy and straight. And as I said, I cut about 8 to 10 different colors of cardstock. And here they all are. I just had a really good time picking my favorites. And all of these strips will make about 35 backgrounds, and I will have strips left over, which of course I will save. So normally I use stick-it adhesive when I want a double-sided adhesive for things, because it's really thin and I want to run it through my die cut machine. But you can also use tape runner to put down on your cardstock as well. But in this situation, I use the Art Deco Creations double-sided adhesive. It's a little bit thicker than stick-it, but because I wasn't putting it through a die cut machine, I thought that would be the better one to use. So I call this my pokey tool. I got it from Stampin' Up! Years ago, and I'm peeling off the corner of the paper that protects this Art Deco double-sided adhesive. I have some Neenah 80-pound cardstock. It's thinner than I use for making my cards. And I'm hearing that 2 sheets, I've already had these pre-cut. I get a lot of my cardstock pre-cut at the FedEx store. It used to be Kinko's. And I'm going to cut off the edges. And what I do is I take a ream of paper and have them cut in half and sometimes in quarters. And that way it saves my blade and I have a bunch of cardstock all cut, which is something you can do when we're out of quarantine. I'm cutting off the little strip there that the Art Deco double-sided paper did not cover. And then I'm going to cut these in half. And each of these is going to make 2 cards or 4 cards altogether in the frame that you see right here. So I'm going to peel off the other corner of this double-sided adhesive and get my scraps all organized. Now, I just chose colors. There is no rhyme or reason. I did not color coordinate, except at the very end I started making some patterns because I was running out. The fatter you cut them, the wider, I guess is a better word, the quicker it'll be, because you don't have to use as many strips to cover. But I lay them on a diagonal because, oh yeah, I wanted to show you if there's any of that double-sided temporary adhesive on there, just wipe it off or turn it upside down. The reason I do it on a diagonal is if I try to do it straight across, I would inevitably not be even. So this way, no one knows that it's not even. Just lay down one cardstock, and as it says PJs all day, I'm still in my robe. I'm saving a lot of money on makeup and hair products. And I'm just grabbing them and I'm butting one up against the other. And sometimes a little bit of the white shows, but that's okay. It doesn't bother me. Try to make sure that you get your ends completely covering the cardstock like I did on the left. And if you make a mistake and it doesn't completely cover, you just kind of lift it up. The beauty about this double-sided adhesive is that it sticks, but it doesn't totally adhere until you mash it down. So when you're all finished, you want to take your bone folder. That particular cardstock was not cut straight. You want to take your bone folder and just run it over the top of everything to make sure it's adhered really quickly. And you will see at the end when I cut these off that all these really long strips you can use on the corners of your other cards. And to me, it's a lot of fun. I love seeing all the different patterns come through. It's very relaxing. I really do enjoy making my own cardstock backgrounds. So I'm going to turn this over and I'm going to trim this with my scissors. And again, it's Nina 80-pound cardstock with the Art Deco double-sided adhesive. And this is going to make 2. I'm going to cut them to 4 by 5 1/4 inch backgrounds. And these strips that I'm cutting off are the ones that we can save when we use shorter strips for our other cards. That's why 8 or 10 pieces of cardstock is plenty. And I said I will link everything in the blog post exactly what I use. So please head over to the blog post. The link will be in the description below. It's positivelyjane.net. And then I will link to the actual blog post. So I'm going to trim these down. And again, using the guillotine a trimmer, because it just cuts through a bunch of layers really, really well. I'm lining it up, cutting a sliver off of each side, the long sides, because it's not very wide. I want to end up with 4 by 5 1/4. And I save all of my strips. Save all of your strips because those you can use as scraps on other cards. I save all of my scraps. You wouldn't believe how many scraps I have and how many I use, and then I run out and don't have any. And I do love this trimmer so very much. So here's the 4, and for some reason I couldn't figure out how to cut this particular one. I was having a quarantine moment, I think, where your mind goes to mush because you're sitting around not doing anything. Although I think I was made for quarantine because I just love not going anywhere and working on projects all day. Literally all day. So that diagonal is on I call it the long side. It's almost like a horizontal diagonal, and I will make you another one real quickly. I'm going to show you in the other direction, and I sped this up. But you can see where I'm using the scraps from the card that I just made. And this is in a different direction. And that orange one I just laid down is not long enough. That blue one is not long enough. And I will show you in just a second a trick to make sure that they're all long enough. It depends on your angle and how you lay them all out. So I'm going to cut this one down just like I did the other one. But because I have that area that I did not cover, I'm going to make this just a little narrower than 4 inches. No one will ever know. You won't tell them. I won't tell them. And we'll all be good. So I'm just going to cut that little bit off right there. If I line it up to 4, you can see that it will not hide that white area. So I'm just going to make it just a tad smaller, and we won't tell anybody, will we? And that's also going to be cut to 5.25. So look at the difference between the two. One's more on the long diagonal and one's more on the short side. So you just figure out which way you want to lay them out and how you want to do it. And there's no right or wrong. I happen to like both. I think they both came out really, really amazing. So this is the trick on how to make sure that you don't have, your strips are not too short like they were in that last card. You don't want that to happen. So you're going to start with your strip and you're going to figure out, you're going to make sure on the bottom that it's covering the whole card. And then you're going to rotate that top right or left, depending. And that looks about right. I have a little bit hanging over on the edge. And you will see as I lay these all out and get to the corner, which tends to be the longest area, that I won't run out at all. And it really is soothing. And when I got near the end and I was running out of colors and I started to make patterns, and then I run out of colors, so I'd have some of them with half a pattern or two different patterns. And that shows you that you will not run out of strips. So what I did for all my die cuts is I cut 3, I glued 3 together, I went through my stash, I stamped all of my sentiments with Gina K black amalgam ink. I cut all of my die cuts with Nina 110-pound cardstock. And I put different die cuts and different sentiments on the cards. And I just love how bright and colorful they came out. So in these particular cards that I'm using right now, I'm going to show you in just a second what I used. I used the Neat and Tangled Together. It has a matching die right there. I file my stamps and dies separately. The Simon Says Stamp You Matter stamp and die, and there's also an amazing background stamp that goes with that one as well. The Stamp Market Hey, this is one of my well-loved and most used. And Simon Says Stamp, Big Thanks Words, those are where I got the sentiments. I'm grabbing my score buddy and I'm scoring my Nina 110-pound cardstock with a thin bone folder that I have. And then I'm going to grab my favorite bone folder of all time. I know it's on the tad expensive side, but it is amazing. It cuts. It scores crisp but doesn't leave any shiny marks. And then I'm going to adhere my backgrounds. Now you can see I made like 35 different backgrounds. Look at all these backgrounds. Aren't they amazing? You can see where I got some patterns going on there. A couple of little pattern there. Trying to use up some of the cardstock I had at the end. But most of it's just multicolor, no rhyme or reason to what I was doing, how I wanted to do it, where I wanted to do it. I just grabbed whatever I wanted to grab. So I am going to adhere a die cut and a sentiment to each one of these cardstocks, which are backgrounds, which are cut to 4 by 5.25. The cards are 4.25 by 5.5. I'm going to glue them on. And then when I put the sentiment on, I try to figure out where the part is that sticks up or sticks down, and that is not where I want to put my my 3M tape. You'll see what I mean in just a second. This is my favorite glue. It comes out tiny little dots. I cannot keep it in stock enough. I use so much of this Lawn Fawn glue. I love my T-ruler. It makes sure that I keep all of my dies and sentiments straight because I tend to make everything just a little bit crooked. And there we have my We Can Do Anything. And I'm going to put my 3M tape. I cut it in half. And then I put it behind there. And I make sure that it's straight with the T-square again. So I have a piece of 3M tape in between the G and the R. And there you go. I'm going to use my tape runner. This is my favorite tape runner. I'm running out of tape runner, and I can't get it, so I'm just going to have to conserve it. I have a lot of glue, and I'm just going to put 4 sides. I always do a little dot in the middle, and I put that on my card. Sorry about my head. I had to line it up. And that is really what I did for every single card except for one. So there's the Hey Thanks. I'm going to put that also on a 110-pound card base. Nina. I love this U. There's a little bit of glue on top of that Y. Do you see? The beauty about the Lawn Fawn glue is it dries clear and you wouldn't even know that it's there. So that's how I do my 3M tape. And I'll make sure I don't have any that's sticking out over the Y because I don't want the double thickness there. Using my T-square again. And I have lots of pictures of almost every single one on my blog post. And I will have a video for everything as well here at the end. Not a video, but a clip. And those are the 3 that I just made. So I thought I'd try something a little bit different for one of the cards, and I wanted to show you what I did. I cut a piece of Ellen Hudson 40-pound vellum. I think it's 1.5 inches. And this is one of my favorite ways to do sentiments. So I'm going to stick it in my MISTI, use my embossing bag, and my Brutus Monroe clear ink, sticky ink, embossing ink. You can use Versamark as well. Stamp up my stamp really well. My heat gun is actually on right now, getting hot, and it's because I like to take a hot heat gun to vellum so I don't warp the vellum. I'm going to use this amazing fine detail powder. I really, really like the Stampendous Detail White. It's one of my favorite. Brutus Monroe also has an alabaster that I love as well. So I'm going to pour that on there, and I'm going to take the really hot heat gun to that. And I love the Wagner. It's my favorite. And I can always watch embossing powder melt. It's one of my favorite things to do. So this is one of my favorite ways to do sentiments. I thought, well, let me just try this on these cards and see if I like that. Because as you know, it's a lot of work to cut out a lot of die cuts. So I kind of eyeballed where I wanted it. I put my tape runner back there where I wanted it. I'm going to fold over one side, and then I'm going to line it up on this glass media mat that I have, which I love, and that is also linked on my blog post. So I'm going to line up the bottom, and I'm going to match it at the top and fold it over and adhere that to a card. Well, I thought it was really boring after looking at the ones with the die cuts, so I went through my stash and found some more die cuts. So this is the Birch Press Big Thanks Sugar Script die. Most of these dies have a shadow. I did not use any shadows today. This is the Hero Arts Hello, has a matching stamp, and I'm used the Sending You Hugs sentiment today. And this is the My Favorite Things, It's All About You die, which compared to the Simon Says Stamp You, it's a little bit different. See the difference? So I'm going to put the thanks on the top of this because I really felt that this vellum strip was just a little bit boring up against this beautiful, bright, and colorful background. And I'm going to put this block to hold this to make sure it dries nice and flat. This is the Hello, the Hero Arts Hello. Again, bone folder, T-square. For some reason, I'm struggling to get this straight, so I had to get my head right in there. I keep these boo-boos in so that you guys know it's a struggle for all of us. And there you go. Hello, sending you big hugs. This is also another hello. It's one of my favorite hellos. It is the Poppy Stamps Big Halo Hello. And this is the Stamp Market Great Big Hello. Here they are right here. I use the Your Next Stamp Cool Banner for the You Are Awesome sentiment. And here are the two die sets. The Great Big Hello and the Big Halo Hello. I really, really, really enjoyed making these cards. I hope that they bring a smile to somebody's face. And then this is one of my favorites, Birch Press You Are Awesome. And I use the I Think You Are with the Awesome die cut. And that is from Neat and Tangled as well. This is new to me. This is my favorite thing. It's called Lots of Love. And that is one of my favorite dies as well now. Here's I Think You Are Awesome. And I got a little bit of something on there, so I use this Mono Sand Eraser. It is my favorite. And it really does quick work on getting off boo-boos. So here's all the cards that I made. There's 30 some of them here. All the different colored envelopes. Here's a third of the envelopes have that stamp on it from Technique Tuesday. I don't know what I'm blowing away. Maybe a fly. Who knows? Snail mail and warning. I love this particular warning one. And then from the same stamp set, I also did the Happy Mail. Get ready to be amazed. And then I went through my stash and found another stamp set that I love. It's the Altenew Crafty Friends stamp set. I'm trying to find one for you to show it to you with that little sprig of leaves. So I really appreciate you guys stopping by. Again, stamp companies aren't shipping right now, but if you get your orders in, they will ship to you as soon as they get your order. Every single card has You Got This in it, and that is CZ Designs from Simon Says Stamp, You Got This. So they're going to ship their orders in the order that they receive, and I'm going to be making a lot of cards because even when we're out of quarantine, I want to be able to thank people for being in the hospitals and taking care of us at the risk of their own lives. Here's another look at my 30-some cards. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to send them all. I do have family members who are working in the ICU, so I'm going to send them to them and have them dispersed to some of the nurses and doctors at the hospital. Here's an example of the same die and stamp set, just different colors. Here they all are. I just love them, and I'm hoping that they will enjoy them as much as I do. So as I said, thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. I hope you're staying safe, staying home if you can. I really appreciate everybody who's doing something totally different, whether you're a mom now, a teacher, or you're working from home, or you're delivering mail, or you're working at the grocery store and stocking my shelves and cleaning my grocery carts. Whatever it is you're doing, I really, really, really appreciate it. Here's another quick look at all the cards. And thank you so very much for stopping by. As I said, stay safe, stay healthy, stay home if you can. And if you can't, I really, really, really thank you for everything that you're doing.